Well, we are barely into 2021, not even a week into 2021, and we are already seeing the world continue to crumble. Recent events that I'm sure you are aware of have been absolutely insane, as we see division, hatred, and so much more everywhere. And now is the time where we really need to discuss our unified vision for the world, because at no other time was it more needed than now, as we see the institutions and the democracy and everything that we, or the people at least, hold dear are beginning to crumble and be destroyed all around us. And technically this is not something that I can stream about, so I have to be a little bit vague and choose my words carefully, but I think you know what it is that I am referencing. Now, what I want to really stress here is that everything that is occurring, everything that has occurred, is a product of the sick institutions that currently are established in this world. People wonder why it's so insane out here, why there's so much insanity going on. It's because this is a direct result of the institutions that exist. You put garbage in, you get garbage out. You have a sick system, it produces sick individuals, and it produces sick consequences. So, what we have to do, and now more than ever, I mean, we can see it right in front of us. This is something that we have been saying for years and years and years, yet it goes unheeded. Yet the result is right in front of our eyes. You can turn on the TV and see it happening. You no longer need to think these are some wild and crazy ideas. It's happening before us. So we have a sick system that produces sick consequences. And we desperately need an idea, a system, a mode of being, a new institution that instead of creating the worst individuals, creates the best individuals. Instead of creating the worst outcomes, creates the most optimal outcomes. Instead of bringing out all the hatred and worst of humanity, that brings out the best of humanity. And the issue is that, look, it doesn't matter who is president. It doesn't matter who's the face. The fact is that we need a whole overhaul of the institutions themselves. Because it's the institutions themselves, it doesn't matter whose face is on the cover, doesn't matter what puppet is behind the podium, but the institutions themselves are what we need to look at, and we need to implement positive institutions that create a healthy, vibrant, strong-willed, creative, compassionate, rational humanity, rather than all the hatred, racism, sexism, and division that we're getting right now. And this is a consequence of years and years of toxic institutions, toxic religions, toxic ways of thinking. And this is something that must change. And so we went to implement a Hyperion ascendancy. And an ascendancy is all about creating a society of the divine. It's about going higher. It's about bringing out the best in humanity. Because what are our institutions for right now? Do they have a purpose? Do they have a teleology? No, absolutely not. They simply exist for the benefit of those who are in charge and simply try to keep the population alive, which it barely can, with minimal regard to their well-being, both physically and psychologically. Just keeping them alive on the bare minimum so that they can be producers, workers, soldiers, etc. We really live on a prison planet, a slave society. And again, these institutions that exist have no overarching goal except to benefit those who are in charge. So in a Hyperion ascendant society, In an ascendancy, what we need to do is have an institution with a teleology, a goal, and a purpose, which is to create the best conditions so that we can create the best humanity, bring out the best in everyone, and have the ultimate goal of creating a society of the divine, a society of gods. And we have that capability. We are able to do this. This is not some pie-in-the-sky utopian dream. This is something that any, alien race visiting us would think would be obvious and would have absolutely no idea what we're doing right now. When, look at the disgraceful pictures that are airing on television that show the absolute stupidity and ignorance and despicable aspects of humanity, the absolute worst. So, instead of the absolute worst, we need the absolute best. The absolute best for everyone. The absolute best for all of us. The absolute best living conditions. The absolute best psychological conditions. The absolute best physical conditions so that we can thrive and no longer have a world that's about survival, but a world that's about thriving. And we need this world soon. And this is why we need to work forward to spreading this information and getting this out there so we can begin to step into this new world. And as I said, our institution, our ascendant institution, will be one that is teleological. Teleological means with a purpose, with an aim, with a cause. Right now, we're all on a leaky ship without a direction. Where are we going? What are these institutions for? What is humanity doing? You're born here, and then you live in these institutions that are what? Just trying to keep you barely alive? What's the point? What's the purpose? No wonder depression is rampant. No wonder addiction is everywhere. No wonder suicide rates are off the charts. Because what's the point of being alive? That's because there is no point. There is no purpose. There is no teleology. And it is an affront. It is a insult to our very nature because we are teleological beings. Teleology means with a purpose. We are purposeful beings. And so to rip away our purpose and tell us we're worthless and nothing and simply a cog in a corporate machine is a slap in the face to what we are as teleological beings on a path to apotheosis. So it's no wonder why this world is so screwed up. So it's time we get rid of all this bullshit. And don't have a world that you can barely survive, but a world that allows you to thrive. And that's what we're going to do. And a Hyperion ascendancy is about teleology, it's dialectical, and it's meritocratic. I'm going to explain to you all these different, what this means, but essentially, it has a purpose. It has a goal to bring out the best in everyone. It's also evolving. It's constantly moving and evolving and adapting to new generations, new ideas, and new ways of thinking. It's future-oriented, not past-oriented. It's not conservative. We don't want to conserve the past, preserve the past. It's not going to be based on old documents written hundreds of years ago and Bible stories written, an ethic based on Bible stories thousands of years old. It's not going to be based on the past. It's going to be based on the future. It's evolving and future-oriented. Why would you want to be past-oriented? Why would you want to be based on the old? The old is crumbling. It's dying away. So let it die. So let it crumble. Once the old is gone, then we can finally have the new. Let what is falling be pushed. And so, we have something that is purposeful to bring out the best in all of humanity. We have something that is evolutionary and future-oriented and evolving, not static and still and based on documents hundreds of years old. And it is meritocratic. It is based on mind rather than simply bodies. Simply this idea that the majority rules. It's not based on a system where you can cheat and con your way to the top, but rather a system where those who are most suited for their positions rise to the top. We must organize this world like a living mind, because that's what it is. This world is a living mind. Right now, this world is not organized at all, but it must be organized as though it were a living mind, because it is a living mind when we understand what reality truly is ontologically. So we have a lot to talk about today. You can tell that I am a little riled up about this. And that's a good thing. What I want you to, we've talked about this in the past. There is nothing wrong with anger. To hell with all this, love and light. Toxic positivity. Because that's a problem here. You have on one hand that you have conservatives who want to preserve the past and have old toxic mindsets. And then you have liberals that have some good ideas, but they're a bit like kindergartners, and they're obsessed with love and light and toxic positivity. And guess what? We are neither. We don't fit in the. Remember, strip away all these ideas, these human ideas of conservatives and liberals and all that. We are the third way. We are ascendants. And so there's nothing wrong with righteous anger, because we are divine beings. And there is a lot to be angry about. And anger is fuel for change. And with that, we will have the fuel, the passion, and the will to transform the world, spread this information, raise humanity up to a new level. And once humanity has stepped into a new consciousness, then we can begin to transform the world. And as I said, in a Hyperion ascendancy, we want to organize the world like a unified living mind. And what is a mind? A mind, your mind, our minds, are composed of that which is conscious and that which is unconscious. And so if we want to change the world, what do we at least have to do? Well, if we're organizing the world according to a living mind, we have to at least wake enough people up so that we can form the ego, the consciousness, the center of the field of consciousness for the world. The I, the self-awareness of the world. Now, a vast majority of the world may remain unconscious, just like a vast majority of each of our minds remain unconscious. And then we can have integration. We can work on integration and individuation, which will be a goal of this Hyperion ascendancy, is for each and every individual to actualize their higher self and make the unconscious conscious. But if we want to transform the world, what we need to do is wake up enough people to form that consciousness of the earth, to form that ego of the earth, the I, the self-awareness of the earth. Remember, there's nothing wrong with ego. Ego is your center of your field of consciousness. So the earth needs a center of its field of consciousness. And so we need to wake up enough people to form the conscious portion of the earth. And this, of course, would be the leadership. The leadership of a new earth, of a new world, is the consciousness of earth. That I, that self-awareness. Because right now there is no awareness at all. The earth is operating completely and totally unconsciously, run by the most primitive of urges, the most primitive of instincts, has no rational self-reflection, has no idea what it is, has no idea where it is, no clue what it's doing. Look at all the chaos. Should you be surprised? No, it's a consequence of the state of affairs. So what you're watching right now, it's the death throes of the old. And now is the time to look forward and look towards the new. And as I said, what we want to do is implement an ascendancy that has very important elements, being teleological, dialectical, and meritocratic. Once again, this means that it must be purposeful. It must be oriented towards a purpose. And the important thing is we organize this world according to a unified mind, according to a united mind. This means that it will be based on mind rather than matter. And what does this mean, to be based on mind rather than matter? Well, first of all, look at the systems that we have now. Look at the voting system. It's based on bodies. One body, one vote. It's just, there's no reference all to mind. Now, does that make sense? I mean, really think about it. On the surface, it might seem right. Oh, one person, one vote. But that completely disregards the mind and is only based on bodies. So, for example, you could have someone that's completely racist and ignorant, the worst possible person imaginable, and they have the same amount of deciding power as a philosopher genius. Now, does that seem fair? No. Why should, racist, ignorant scum have the same voting power as a philosopher genius, someone altruistic, someone that has dedicated their life to learning, understanding, opening their mind? Why? Well, this is because we live in a society that is matter-based, material-based, body-based, avatar-based. That's why our society needs to be mind-focused, mind-based, because reality is mind-based. And so in a system like this, yes, of course we will have voting power, but it will be not in such a system, though, where a philosopher genius has equal power to the most horrible person imaginable. We must make sure that, once again, the world is set on a path by the highest, the very best, the most conscious. And another thing, look at capitalism. Again, it's material based. It's just based on products, consuming, buying, and selling. Even look at ideas like communism. Communism, every person is completely equal. It doesn't give any regard to mind. It's, again, just based on bodies. Every person is completely equal. And that might sound like a good idea, right? That might sound like a good idea. Oh, everyone is equal. But that's a toxic kind of equality. Everyone should have equal opportunity. Everyone should have equal opportunity, but then be rewarded based on what they do with their life. So again, you have toxic, racist, ignorant scum should not be rewarded equally with a philosopher genius. They all need the same starting position. Everyone must have equal opportunity. But imagine it like this. It's a bit like, those restaurants that you go to where when you give a tip, they put all the tips, in a pool, and then at the very end, everyone gets an equal amount of tips. Well, no, that's not a good way of looking at things. The better job you do, the more you should be rewarded. Because why should you have to work 100 times as hard and be rewarded for someone who's just sitting on their ass? So you see that everywhere it's just based on it completely disregards mind. It completely disregards the inner aspect of individuals. So we are not communists, we are not socialists, we are not capitalists, we are none of these things. Remove that idea away. All these human boxes. Because people get that all the time, If you rail on capitalism, they automatically think you're a communist. If you rail on communism, they automatically think that you are a capitalist. No, we are neither. We advocate a Hyperion ascendancy. And this is, again, an evolving system. And so it's based on giving everyone equal opportunity. Giving everyone the same opportunity to thrive. That means universal health care, the best education for everyone, free housing, universal basic income, the very best education, and not only the very best healthcare for you as a body, but the very best healthcare for you as a mind, psychologically. Everyone should be given the best opportunity to not only have a healthy body, but a healthy mind. So in a Hyperion ascendancy, which aims to bring out the best in everyone, everyone will be given the very, very best from the start. The best education, the best healthcare, the best opportunities, the best psychological well-being. And then from that starting point that everyone has equal opportunity, regardless of sex, regardless of gender, regardless of race, then certain people will, of course, go further than others. And those who do go further than others should, of course, be rewarded based on that. They should be compensated based on that. The more you put in, the more you get out. And that's only fair. We want a fair and just world. It would be a completely fair and unjust world otherwise. And so we have this idea where we want to create a society of the divine, bring out the best in everyone. We want to emphasize mind rather than matter. We want an intelligent world, a purposeful world. And we want a world that is evolving. This is where the dialectic comes in. This means within the system itself, it's not going to be a stagnant, unmoving system where you set up certain institutions and then they just stay there and unmoving. But rather they evolve and develop. Just like a mind. A mind evolves and develops. Well, we must have a society, a world that is constantly evolving and developing. And this means incorporating within it revolutionary ideas. So we must incorporate within our system peaceful revolution. We must incorporate within our system mindsets that are radical, as long as they don't, impede the good of the collective and the individual. But we must incorporate radical ideas to serve as the antithesis to our thesis, to make sure that the system is constantly evolving and based on new ideas that the new generation will come up with. It's future-oriented and evolving. What a crazy world where we base our ideas on the dead old past. And we give such little credit to new generations. But in our system that's evolving, this aspect is why we have to incorporate within it viewpoints that seem radical. But we must incorporate that within it so that the new generation and new ideas have the opportunity to bloom, blossom, grow, and contribute to our constantly evolving system. So it's highly important to realize that this is something that the world has never seen before. And I'll say it again, it must be teleological, it must be purposeful. What is the purpose of capitalism? What is the purpose of any of these systems? They have none. The purpose of our Hyperion ascendancy is to bring out the best in humanity, to create a society of gods. To give everyone equal opportunity. To create a thriving, growing, evolving, transforming creative, intelligent, rational new world. So the old world is crumbling, it's falling apart, so let it. Let it crumble, let it fall. You're seeing the death throes of the old. And guess what? There will be a dialectical response to this. And unfortunately, it will come with its own toxic elements. You're going to see as we move forward a lot more censorship. And that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing, because you're going to have this agenda of, love and light, censorship, cancel culture, accepting of all things. And that might seem like a good thing on the outset. But if you study any philosophy, you'll know that it's not. This is Karl Popper's paradox of tolerance. If you tolerate the intolerant, intolerance will spread. In other words, if you love that which is hateful, you'll breed more hate. So if you're accepting of completely everything, such as hateful mainstream religions that contain within it hatred, well, you're just giving hatred a breeding ground. And so, unfortunately, this means a lot of censorship. And, we're already facing this right now. We're very limited to some of the topics that we can discuss, especially with regard to religion. And when religion causes psychological damage, religious trauma syndrome in children, talking about such things are not things that should be censored. They are very real and problems that are at the root that we face today. So it's important to realize that we are unlike anything the world has seen before. We're none of these political groups. We're not conservatives. We're not liberals. We're not capitalists. We're not communists. None of this. We are Hyperions, and we advocate an ascendancy that is teleological, purposeful, dialectical, which means it's evolving and future-oriented, and meritocratic, which means it's not based on who you know or cheating or conning the system, but it's based on your talent, your merit, your competence, your consciousness as a person, as an individual. That's what will take you far. And ultimately, this world must be organized as a living mind. As a living mind. That's why we need leadership to serve as the eye, the self-awareness of the earth. We need Dionysian zones to deal with the shadow of the earth. We need institutions to help integrate the mirror self of the earth. We must have institutions set up for the power self, for individuals to step into their power and individuate. The earth must be organized and set up like a living mind, because that's what it is. And it must be purposeful, with the goal of creating a divine society, a society of gods, bringing out the best in everyone. And that's what we are. I mean, we are here as purposeful beings. We are transformers. We are creators and destroyers. So let the old be destroyed so we can create the new. That's what we are here to do. And this is not some utopian, pie-in-the-sky, unrealistic idea. This is what we are. I don't want to say made. We're not made, because we are eternal. This is our essence. This is what our essence is. This is what our very being is as creators and transformers. To transform and create this world. And we will do this through reason. We will do this through will. As we implement a new vision for the world. So, the important thing is to go out there and spread this information. What we need is that amount, that number of individuals to serve as the conscious factor of the earth, to be that spark to light up the world, to be that guiding function. And that's what we are beginning right now, right here, as the opening eye of the absolute. Politics, institutions, governments, it's not this boring, droll, banal, mundane thing that this world makes it into. What is it? It is the structuring of the mind of the absolute. It is the awakening and the opening of the great eye. That's what we are, and that's what constructing the world is. It's not this bullshit bureaucracy that this world has made it into. It's not these stuffy suit and ties, people droning on and on about the budget and bullshit systems that are implemented. It's about structuring the mind of the absolute. And that's so beyond the majority of people to understand. But you can understand it. And that's why we serve as the consciousness of the earth, because we have that self-awareness. Do you understand? We are the self-awareness of the absolute, because we understand it. That's why the rest of the world doesn't. But that's okay. The ones that don't just need to know that it's about bringing out the best in humanity. And that's something that everyone can understand. We want to bring out the best in humanity, give everyone equal opportunity. But for those who serve as the consciousness of this world, we have the awareness of the absolute, and so we know what it's about. We know that it's about structuring the world according to the mind of us, of the absolute, and the awakening of the great I. And that's why we are the consciousness of the earth, rather than the vast unconsciousness that makes up the most. But we must go out there and begin to gather more individuals and raise consciousness up, get people to understand these ideas, because this is a revolution of the mind. So make sure that you are spreading, that's what this is all about. Spreading this information, getting people to understand. We want those who can understand the ultimate idea about being the consciousness of the earth to understand. But if some people aren't ready for that, at least they can understand bringing out the best of humanity. And we can do that through a Hyperion ascendancy. So, let's realize, let's be conscious of what we are. And as we watch the old crumble away, as we watch this world turn in on itself in chaos and division, let us go out there and create the new. As the old descends, let the new ascend. Ray Smith said, what do you think of universal income? Yes, universal basic income should absolutely be something implemented. Once again, in a Hyperion ascendancy, everyone should be given what they need to survive. Everyone must, or not even just to survive, but the idea here is that, look, and this is what's so ridiculous, is that living, being able to afford food, having a roof over your head, isn't a privilege, it's a right. Being able to have what you need to be alive should not be debatable. It shouldn't even be something that we debate. So yes, of course, being given enough money to buy food, having a roof over your head, having access to healthcare, all of these things should be givens. It shouldn't be controversial. It shouldn't be debated. They should be absolute givens. So yes, once again, universal basic income, healthcare, all this thing, absolutely. Rick Meyer, thank you for helping us wake the world, says, my concern, giving everybody unlimited access to everything. Well, I want to emphasize, we're not talking about giving unlimited access to everything. We're giving people access to what they need to survive, to live, and the opportunity to be the best they possibly can. So it's not like everyone's going to have unlimited access to absolutely everything. It's that people will have a roof over their head. People will have enough to be able to eat. People will be able to have access to healthcare and education. Now, will some people just sit around on their ass all day? Well, if they do, they're not going to reap the rewards of the system. They'll have enough that they need to live. You know, they're not going to be homeless. They're not going to be hungry. But that's where you have the idea. Remember, this is not communism. But this is where you have the idea that you get as much as you give. You will have more access and more reward based on how much you put in. So it's not about unlimited access to everything. But I'm glad that you asked that so that I could clarify. So Joseph Matlow says, without a strong center of consciousness, the ego, you'll either be a slave to the id or the superego. You need a reality principle to mediate between the id and the superego. Yes, and that's exactly right. And again, you can have this idea sort of as above, so below. That's why just like you need a strong center of consciousness, because you don't want your shadow to overtake you, you don't want any of these other unconscious aspects to overtake you. In the world at large needs a strong center of consciousness. And that is what we are. We are the consciousness of the world. And this world does not have any sort of consciousness. There's no direction to it. And this is why you have the shadow of the world being overrun. Do you see why we need to model the world after a psyche, after a mind? Because it is. It is. And just like Joseph pointed out, yes, you need a strong center of consciousness personally to mediate between unconscious structures like the shadow. Likewise, the earth at large needs a strong center of consciousness, but it has none. So you need that direction. And there is none. That's why the shadow of the world is overtaking everything, because there's no guiding function. There's no strong center of consciousness. There is none, let alone a strong one. We don't need socialism. We don't need communism. We don't need capitalism. We need ascendancy. And to implement an ascendancy means that we're bringing purpose, a directedness, bringing out the best in humanity. It's goal-oriented. Our system that is purposeful. What is our direction? To bring out the best in every citizen. And we know that that is to create a society of gods. Now, can everyone understand that? Probably not. Probably not. But they can understand the idea of bringing out the best in everyone. To have the best life, the best experience, the best opportunities, the best possibilities. We know, as the consciousness of the world, that that is apotheosis, an evolution into God. We will create our kingdom of God on earth. We know this. But at least humanity can understand the idea of bringing out the best in every citizen. And the ideas are the same. It's just people don't have the ability to grasp that. But we want to go out and change that. Because we need the leaders. We need the visionaries to help implement this new world. And so this is why it's so important to go out and spread this information, to look with those, to find those who do have the spark of understanding, to ignite that consciousness within them. Those who tell you that things like this will never work, it'll never happen. Look, don't believe that garbage. People telling you that it'll never happen, that it can't work, are the people who want this world to remain the same. Of course it will. We are evolutionary beings, and we are here to create the new. Those who that tell you, oh, that'll never work. No. They're the ones that want you to stay in old shit. This world is so backwards, so putrid, that many of the things that we're talking about are just common sense. Should be common sense. Yet this world is so degraded, so backwards, so putrid. And anyone that tells you that these ideas can't work, well, fuck them. Fuck them. Because if everyone who said that it couldn't work put in the effort to make a change, it would. So don't believe these people that are trying to drag you down. That's the whole point. As Hyperions, creating an ascendancy, we are about raising each other up and then raising the world up with us. And that's why this community is so important, because the rest of the world, with that bullshit attitude, is trying to drag you down. Oh, that'll never work. You're crazy. They're trying to bring you down to their level, to make you wade and shit with them. That's why this community is so important, to help bring each other up, raise each other up. And then, as we have raised ourselves up, raise the rest of the world up with us.